Okay, so I've just began the recording and I'm just going to pull up the presentation for you. Right, so hopefully everybody can see my screen. Thank you for those again joining us here and for those joining us at home and on the recording. My name's Tom, and this session is going to be focused on applying to Solent University, the new student immigration route, and any information that you need to know before submitting an application to study in the UK from January 2021 onwards. So in terms of the content, I'm going to offer a brief overview of Solent University and our location in the waterfront city of Southampton. It might be that you already know a little bit about us and about where we're based, or you might know nothing about us or about where we're based. So hopefully this will add to it or provide some really interesting and useful information before you make your key decisions. We'll then look at the tuition fees and funding options for students, and then I'll hand over to my colleagues Monica and Andy, who will talk us through the visa and immigration system process and issuing a CAS and the conditions required to that. Ultimately, the takeaway from this talk is that you will feel informed about Solent University and where we're based and what we're about, and you'll feel confident and informed about the process and the next steps that you need to do to be able to complete your application to study in the UK. So where are we? We're based in the waterfront city of Southampton. There you can see on the map of the UK, the bottom of the south of England. We have the luxury of having a city centre and a campus location. So whereas many universities might have a campus feel and be out of the city, and other city-based universities will be spread across the city, Solent's very lucky that it is a campus within the city location, central city location of Southampton. Our halls of residences are only a short 15-minute walk away from our main campus, meaning that you don't need to use any sort of public transport to get around the city. It's all very close, and you've got restaurants and cafes and shops on your doorstep as well. The city of Southampton enjoys fantastic transport links with London and the rest of the UK. So obviously it's about your experience studying and indeed living in the UK. So how do you get the most out of that? Southampton's a brilliant hub to be in order for you to get around and see as much of the country as possible whilst you're studying with us. In terms of central London, we are out of the capital city, but we're very close. We're only 70 minutes by direct train, so it's very easy to get into London for a day trip or for a weekend away, or indeed to fly in and out of the country. Here's a lovely bit of drone footage looking at our central location. This is highlighted in the red circle there is our East Park Terrace campus. You'll notice at the top of the screen a stretch of water that heads out to the English Channel and the Isle of Wight. That's known as the Solent, where we take our name from. And some other points of interest looking at this bird's eye view, the football stadium, home of the Premier League side Southampton Football Club, who we work very closely with on a number of courses and initiatives. And to the other side of that beautiful green space there that our campus looks out onto is the city centre. About Southampton as a city, it's the largest city in the southeast of England outside of London. So it's a fairly large city, but again, doesn't have the busyness and population of a capital. As I've mentioned, it's just over an hour away from the capital city, so it's easily within reach if you want to spend some time there. The population of the city of Southampton is about 250,000, and of that 250,000, roughly 30,000 are students. So it has a really large student population. So 2 universities within it, and lots to do, and real vibrancy that universities and students bring to a city. It's one of the major port cities in the UK and indeed Europe, and therefore it's had a lot of investment in its new developments, new theatres and new cultural quarter and cultural complex that have developed over the last decade, and that's been seen by a lot of investment from the government. And that's again attributed or meant that we can have new pubs, bars, cafes and restaurants open up across the city centre. So there's lots of things you can do whilst living and studying in Southampton. It's an historical city with a rich heritage and lots of history behind the war and indeed the Titanic, the world famous port, and used to be a walled city again. So lots of history around the city too. It's only a 10-minute train journey from the Southampton International Airport as well for students that are able to come in and out of that. There's more than 11,000 students studying at Solent, and they're across 200 different courses. So we'll have students joining us here today from a whole range of different courses or interested in a range of different things that they want to study with us. What's even greater than the choice of courses is the amount of students we have from different nationalities. Over 120 different nationalities now study at the Solent University, which is really positive and is a real attribute to our inclusiveness and our internationalisation. We've spent a lot of money on investment in our campus as well, over £100 million. That began with the creation of the Spark building that you can see in the top left, that red orb-shaped building, and resulted and finished with the creation of the Solent Sport Complex at the bottom of your screen there. So we are about investing in our facilities, investing in our students, and ensuring that our university has a state-of-the-art feel to it, and is at the forefront of the industries which we are training our students to go into following their graduation. We're rated 5 stars by the QS World Rankings for teaching inclusiveness, and again the QS World Rankings is again repeated at the bottom there with 5 stars in also employability, facilities, internationalisation and teaching too. And we are in the top 50 universities for graduate employment. So graduate employment is something that we're really focused on, and we want to see our learning outcomes, to see that our students, once they graduate from us, get really positive outcomes working in their chosen industry and studying and taking part in their chosen careers. We do listen to our students. We are a student-focused university, and that's been backed up by the recent NSS National Student Survey scores, as we consistently rank in the top 25 for student voice, academic support and the learning community. I am going to talk briefly about tuition fees and funding before I hand over to Andy and Mon. For those that don't know, our tuition fees are now set for 2021-2022. Our undergraduate study for EU students will stay at £9,250 per year. Now, this is very unique. Not all universities in the UK are offering this for EU students. As a result of Brexit, it's likely that those fees will go up in line with non-EU and overseas, but that won't take place at Solent until at least 2022 entry. So if you are thinking about studying with us and are unsure, then this is the year to get that reduced fee. For our overseas students, there is an undergraduate fee of £13,800 per year. Now, postgraduate study differs by course, so it's very important to have a look at your course page on our website. They're very informative, very useful, and contain a whole range of information on that course and the facilities and indeed the equipment you might use, but also the course fees differ. So for EU and home students, it is between £7,600 and £10,600 for the year, and for non-EU overseas students, that fee is £13,700 to £15,900. So again, do have a look at the course if you're unsure of what your course fee might be. Funding is very specific information for very different courses, countries, and regions. So I always say for the full information on our funding options is to have a look at our comprehensive list on our website. There are scholarships available for non-EU and for EU students, and this is on under that international students section, highlighted scholarships. You'll be able to look through the different scholarships that we have on offer, the money or the discounts that you'll get for your tuition, but also what you need in order to apply for that scholarship and to check your eligibility for that scholarship. Again, for the EU students joining us here, there are no change to your fees. These still stay at £9,250,000 per year for undergraduates if you join us in 2021. So Andy, Monica, I'm going to hand over to you if that's okay to talk us through the visas. I'm here, so if you need any information or you need me to move the slide, please just ask.
That's great, thanks Tom. Do you want to move on to my first slides?
Yeah, are we on Who Needs a Visa?
Yeah, that's right. Just before we start talking about visas and kind of immigration to the UK, throughout these next few slides, we're going to be providing you with quite a lot of information regarding who needs a visa, what you need to provide to the university and to the Home Office to get a visa as well. And I should say, please don't worry if you don't remember all of what we tell you today. There'll be lots of information that is sent to you from our admissions team after you apply, informing you the documents you need to send to us, and how you apply for your visa as well. So this is just to kind of give you a flavour and an idea, so you're aware if you will need a visa and what the visa application process will look like, so it doesn't come as kind of a complete shock to you, maybe June, July, August time next year. So firstly, I'll start with who needs a visa. And I'm sure you're all aware that the UK has now left the EU, and the transition period for finishing for leaving the EU ended at the end of December 2020. Do you want to just go back a slide one, Tom?
Of course, apologies.
That's right. And what this means is there's two distinct groups of EU nationals. One group that will need a visa and one group that will no longer need a visa. Yeah, just back a slide, Tom, if you can. So anybody who entered the UK prior to the end of 2020, you have the right to live, work and study in the UK freely as if you were still an EU member state. And to do that, you would need to apply for what is known as the EU settlement scheme to demonstrate your ability to remain in the UK. Now, I'm assuming that the majority of the people on the call today are not living in the UK yet and did not arrive in the UK prior to the end of last year. However, if you did arrive in the UK prior to the end of last year, we put a presentation together about the EU settlement scheme, what it's about, what documentation you need and how to apply. And there's a link to that at the end of this presentation as well. So I suggest if you do come under that category, you watch that presentation and you get your application in for the EU settlement scheme. Now, for everybody else, anybody that hasn't entered the UK yet or who entered the UK after the 1st of January 2021, you will need to apply for a student visa to allow you to enter the UK to study any course that you wish to do at Solent. Now, there's two different types of visas that you can apply for. And which one you will need to apply for will depend largely on the length of your course. So if your course is up to 6 months long, students will require what is known as a visitor visa. And this allows you to enter the UK for up to 6 months. And on that visit visa, you are allowed to study. Now, the process for gaining a visit visa is very straightforward. You would enter the UK at a UK border, for example, in airports via an e-gate. For anybody that doesn't know what an e-gate is, it's one of the electronic machines that you kind of enter in at an airport where you put your passport up against the scanner. It scans the passport, it will scan your biometrics, such as your face, and if they match, it will allow you to enter. Once you've entered, you will be able to remain in the UK for up to 6 months, and you will not receive any visa stamp, visa documentation, or anything like that. You will just need to be aware that you need to leave the UK within 6 months of entering, so it's worth keeping hold of your flight information and your flight ticket. Courses that would be covered on that are very short courses. Usually there are kind of maritime courses, and again, probably won't cover many people in this call. For the majority of you, I'm assuming that you will be coming on courses that are 6 months or longer. For example, a foundation course or an undergraduate degree, master's degree, or maybe a PhD program. And for you, you will need to apply for what's known as a long-term student visa under the student route, which is part of the UK's new points-based immigration system. And if anybody is familiar at all with the UK immigration system, which I don't suppose anyone would be, but this student route was previously known as Tier 4. So just in case you ever hear the term Tier 4, that will mean the same as the student route. And now to apply under the student route for a visa, you will need what is known as an educational sponsor. Now, Solent University is an educational sponsor, as we've been granted a license by the Home Office to sponsor students for their visa applications to the UK. And the way the university sponsors you is by providing you with what's known as a CAS document, which stands for Confirmation of Acceptance for Study. Now, we would issue you with a CAS document once you hold an unconditional offer and meet certain visa requirements and visa checks which we conduct during the application process. This CAS contains information about your course, for example, the length, the name of the course, the level of the course, the fees that your course will cost, personal details about yourself, how we've assessed your application for the course, and your immigration history if that's applicable as well. Can you move on to the next slide, Tom?
Of course.
Thanks. So now I'm just going to take you through a little bit about the application process to the university and how you would receive that CAS document from us as well. So you would submit your application through UCAS, and we're not going to go into that process today. If you've got any questions on the UCAS application form, you can direct those towards Tom. But once the university receives your application, we will make an assessment of it, and we will assess it based on your personal statements, possibly an interview if that's applicable for whichever course you're applying for, the qualifications you currently hold and the qualifications you are currently taking, and your English language level as well, which again will be based on qualifications you hold or qualifications you are currently taking. Once we make that assessment, the university will decide whether to make you an offer, and if we make you an offer, the offer will either be conditional or unconditional. Now, if you're not familiar with these terms, a conditional offer means that you're guaranteed a place on a certain course, providing you meet certain conditions which we set. Now, quite often, if you apply, for example, now or in the next couple of months, you will get an offer that is conditional because we are waiting on qualifications that you are currently taking. For example, you might be taking a high school leaving certificate, or you might be taking an IB, but you won't get the results until the summer. So the offer would be conditional on you achieving those certain grades, or it might be conditional on you achieving a certain English language level as well. Solent will also assess your immigration status. So we will look to see if you need a visa to come and study in the UK. For example, we will be looking to see if you entered the UK prior to the 31st of December 2020 and would be eligible to apply for the settlement scheme, or if you've already applied for that already. However, for the majority of students, you probably will need a visa. And what this will mean is we will then send you information about what you need to provide us with to be issued with a CAS, and then information about the visa application process itself as well. So if you do need a visa, the additional information that we would need prior to giving you a CAS is that firstly, you would need to hold an unconditional offer from us. So I just talked a moment ago about the difference between conditional and unconditional offers. So what this means is we wouldn't be able to provide you with a CAS until you have completed the current qualifications that you are taking. So depending on which country you're from and when your qualification results are released is likely to depend on when we will be able to issue you with a CAS. But this is just really to set aside that please don't worry if you haven't got your CAS until June, July, or even August if your qualifications are released quite late. That is quite common. And provided we can kind of get you your CAS by the end of August, it should give you enough time to apply for your visa and then travel to the UK for your course kind of towards the end of September. We would also conduct an immigration and study limit check as well. This would be looking at previous immigration applications to the UK, if you've had any previous visa refusals, and if you've studied previously in the UK as well. This is unlikely to be applicable to very many people on the call at the moment because you would never have had to make a visa application to the UK, but it will kind of become more apparent in years and years to come. We also take a deposit of £3,000 before we issue a CAS to any student as well. And that deposit of £3,000 would then later come off of your tuition fees that you'd be required to pay to the university. Now, there are some exceptions to this. For example, if you are going to be granted with a government loan or you're a government sponsored student. So I know students, particularly from Norway and Sweden, you get government loans. So you wouldn't be required to pay this £3,000. We would just need to see the evidence of the loan that you're going to be granted. It might be quite similar with some other European countries as well, but I kind of don't know the loan system for each country inside and out. So you'll know that better than I will. And lastly, kind of a unique requirement is if you are studying a below degree level course. Now, below degree level courses are anything that leads to a qualification below a degree. So the courses that we would offer here at the university, the most likely one that you would probably be doing is a foundation course. Or we also do offer some HNCs and HNDs as well, which are below degree level. Then to assess your English language, you're required to hold a CELT, which stands for a Secure English Language Test. Now, the most common secure English language test you're likely to be aware of is the IELTS test. And you must ensure that the IELTS test is taken from a secure English language test centre. And what we'll do is, after I finish talking now, I'll put a link in the chat to all the CELT centres and the different CELT tests that you can take as well. But just to clarify, that will only be applicable if you're studying a below degree level course. And also the admissions team will set this out clearly to you when we make you an offer. So you would receive a conditional offer requiring an IELTS CELT test. For anybody studying degree level or above, the university is permitted to choose how we assess your English language. And that could still be in the form of an IELTS test, but it could also be in the form of maybe English at IB level or a high school leaving certificate that you've taken in your home country. It will very much depend country to country and which previous qualifications you have taken as well. So once you've got your CAS, you would then need to make a visa application, and I will pass you over to Monica, who will talk you through the visa application process.
Over to me then. The very interesting part is actually the immigration behind the visa. So the way I will approach it, I will tell you a little bit more about the point-based system immigration. This is where the student visa is coming to play. And then I will tell you what is that you require to apply for a visa based on your nationality. So looking at the eligibility criteria, the UK new system, or old system if you like, just Andy mentioned, it's rebranded really from tier 4 point-based system to student visa, just to make it a little bit simpler for everybody. We now have a one system for students who are coming from outside of the UK. So students from overseas are now on exactly the same route as the students from EU countries, but we do have a small differentiation between them. Our system is very much similar to other countries like Australia or Canada, where you will be scored a number of points based on a key criteria. And if you cannot get the points under those key criteria, your visa will be refused. If you have all of the key points criteria, but you lack, for example, documents are under the non-must criteria, your visa still can be rejected. So it's really important that we prepare you for the process and that you're fully aware of the requirements, because without the visa you won't be able to study in person in the UK. So let's just have a look at what is needed. The three basic criteria the Home Office is looking at is your ability to be a student and to study, your ability to maintain yourself in the UK financially, so whether you have sufficient amount of money for living comfortably in the UK while studying, so the paying tuition fees but also having the money for day-to-day living. And the third criteria is your English command. Is your level of English at the point, at the right level to study in the UK? So when looking at the criteria of study, they're looking at a few particular areas. So number one, have you got confirmation of acceptance for studies? And that's the CAS that Andy has described to you. That's the very unique information that we as a university are sharing with the Home Office and with you. So we will tell the Home Office under a data set what is that you study with us. We then share this information with you, and you need to put it in your visa application. Then the Home Office will check it against their records and see if this is aligned. If you're saying you're studying the course, if we're happy to welcome you to study with us, then it's the number one must element. The second one is, are you ready to study? So what are your course requirements? If we say, for example, you're coming here to study a master degree, and we say we give you the offer based on your previous study, they will want to see the certificate of the previous study, for example. So do you meet the course requirements? Also, are your qualifications good, of the right standard? So are you on the right level of study? Are you requiring, you also need to look at where do you study? So it's being with the correct provider, with the correct institution. The visa you're applying for is a visa to study with a particular institution on a particular course. This is how the immigration works in the UK. So if, let's say, you want to study a marketing course with Solent, and you come to, you apply for a visa, you get the visa, you can't then change your mind and say, oh, I've got a visa to UK, I'm going to study a IT with Portsmouth University. It's not going to work. To do that, you will need a new visa to study with a new university as well. If you want to have a small variation within the course while you're on the course, that may be permitted under the same visa, but a bigger variation may need you to require a visa. And that's a huge change for the way you perceive the freedom of movement and the freedom of study in the UK. So it's a really good idea to kind of get your head around that from now, the visa is set for what your plans are. So let's have a look. Obviously, those are the key criteria. But as we were part of Europe, we can I have a new slide, Tom, please? The government has extended what is called a differentiation agreement to all the countries within the EU, and what it means is that the certain nationalities are not exempt from meeting all the criteria from visa, but don't need to provide the all set of documents. If you like, those are the trusted countries that UK developed a good relationship with, and this extends to EU. So what the government is saying now is that if you are a EU national trying to wanting to study within the UK, you must provide out of the whole list 2 documents are on a must list. So one is the confirmation of acceptance of study, so having a place of study in the UK, and another one is a passport. Those are 2 must documents for you. There is a full set of documents that you can see on the screen on the right hand side that are also required, but you mustn't, you don't have to submit them with your visa application unless you have, for example, a criminal conviction. That having criminal conviction won't necessarily mean that your visa will be refused, but it will mean that you will be scrutinized with all the documents that you need to provide. But most of you probably don't have any criminal convictions, so the only document you will have to provide with your visa application is CAS and passport. Now, a CAS number and a passport. Now, while the Home Office will be looking at your application in greater detail, they can ask at any point to see the other documents. And that what it means is that, yes, we trust generally students, but on a case-by-case basis, we will verify that students are indeed ready and they have all of the required documents. Hence, I will tell you what the requirements is here, so you can prepare for it in advance. Now, my key advice is when you apply for a visa, you do not submit the extra documents until you are asked. If you submit those documents earlier, the Home Office will look at them, and if there are any issues or any mistakes with these documents, they will assess those documents. So the documents you are required, as I said, one of the key criteria under the points-based system is financial, being financially stable. That means that for your study, you need to have enough money for the first year of your tuition fees and money for living cost. And this is this is established now as £1,023 per month, up to the 9 months of study. So what the UK is saying, come here prepared for up to 9 months of study with your money, and if your course is for 3 years, we know that you will have the money coming in later on in a year. What the UK doesn't want you to do is to come here unprepared and therefore having financial worries and being unable to focus on your study. This money can be in your account, but it can be in your parents' account as well. It cannot be, unfortunately, in like uncle or auntie. So if you think that they will be financially supporting you during your study, good idea to have a chat with them and transfer the money into your account or your parents' account. And the Home Office would like to see the money being on your account for at least 1 month before you submit your visa application. So that's something you may want to have a discussion with your family members how to evidence that. They may also ask for academic qualifications, like Andy mentioned, knowledge of English, so all the whether you have a CELT if you are below degree level, or how did we assess your level of English if you are studying on the on a degree courses. If you are under the age of 18, you will need a consent from your parents to study in the UK. Also, if you are providing a bank statement or relying on a financial evidence in your parents' name, you may need to provide a proof of relationship with your parents or a guardian if you have them. So that will be your birth certificate. You may need to provide tuberculosis test. This is an X-ray from a certified center of your chest, depending on whether if you are not on an exempt list. There is a list of exempt nationals. Depending on what you want to study in the UK, also the course of study, you may need an ATAS certificate. ATAS certificate is a special certificate you obtain from the UK government if you study on a course that could lead to you having a knowledge on how to construct a weapon of a mass destruction, and that's something that you need to apply in advance for. You can apply up to 9 months before the course start date, and it takes about a couple of months to get the certificate. So have a look on the course requirements and apply in a good time. Also, obviously, the visa applications are looked at in the UK, so any documents that are not in English will need to be translated by a certified translation service. And there is a guidance on our website as well on what does it actually mean, who is a certified translation person and who isn't. And also, if you are lucky to be sponsored by an international government agency or a company, or then you would need their statement. But if you were also sponsored on a previous study, you would need the permission from that sponsor to be continuing study with us, because often sponsor would attach a special conditions on their study. So, for example, it could be that you can study with us, you will be paid, your conditions will be paid, but you then need to go back and deliver 5 years, for example, of work in your government. So there is the list is the list on the screen is quite exhaustive, but it's not fully conclusive. There may be other documents you need to provide depending on your personal circumstance, and that's there's a lot of reading I'm sure you will be doing later on. When you know you want to study and where you want to study, and at the end of this presentation we'll provide you more links to other websites. But to take out of the slide is there is lots of documents you need to be in a possession of. There is very few you must provide with your visa application, okay, but you need to be ready. Could I have my next slide, please?
Coming up.
So what is the visa application process? For actually applying. So Andy talked you through up to the point of you being given a CAS. So you need to have a CAS and you need to have your passport, and obviously in the background you need to have all the other required documents. Then you go online on the Gov.uk website. This is the government website, and you fill in an online application form. This will ask a lot of information about you, your parents, your previous study, our course with us. Lots of information copied from the CAS documents as well. At the end of the application, you will need to pay a fee for the visa application, immigration healthcare surcharge that we could talk a bit later about. And then the next step, once you submit that and you pay for it, there is an extra step is to provide the biometrics. Biometric data is your fingerprints, a facial scan and a signature. You may remember the biometric data from your passports. European passports often have a biometric chip attached, so you should be familiar with the biometric data. Now, the next step as to how you provide the biometric data and a copy of your documents to the Home Office depends on what documents you've got on hand. Most of you will have a biometric passport by now. And if you do have a biometric passport and a smartphone that have enabled NFC sharing capacity, then the next step is very simple. All you need to do is download an app from the called UK Immigration ID Check and follow the guidance on the app to scan your passport, and the app will copy the biometric data from your passport, upload it to the Home Office website. You also take a pictures of all of your documents that you need to submit with your visa documents and upload this onto the Home Office website. At this point, your visa application process is then concluded. And when you get a visa decision, this will come in a shape as of a email to you as a decision, and it will also give you details of how to look at how to access your visa status. You're not going to have a stamp in your passport, because at no point your passport will be sent to the UK or be seen by any officials. Instead, you will be granted what is called a secure digital status. To activate this secure digital status, you will need to be entering in the UK with the same passport that you've used to apply for your visa. Now, for the small minority of you that do not have a biometric passport or a smartphone, you may have an old passport. There is an option for you to also submit your biometrics, but for you will need to attend the visa application centers that we do have a number of them within Europe. In those centers, you will need to provide your passport and your documents, a hard copy of those. And as a result, when your visa application is granted, you will get a vignette, which is a visa sticker in your passport. And when you arrive in the UK, you will get a physical card, a biometric residence permit card, which is the picture on the screen that you can see, very much looking like a driving license, European driving license. And that will be your visa. What it means that whenever you travel in and out of the UK, you will need to travel with this card. Otherwise, you won't be able to re-enter the UK. Can I have the next slide, please, Tom? So let's look at the digital secure status. For the European nationals who already are living in the UK and have applied for EU settlement scheme, there is no physical document to prove that that they are granted settled or pre-settled status. And similarly, the same pattern will apply to most EU nationals who will be applying for a visa. So your visa, if you like, and permission to be in the UK, as well as the rights that are associated with your stay here in the UK, will be held on a website in a shape of digital status. So how can you prove that you are legally in the UK? You will be able to share your details with employers, details with university, and for example with the landlords by getting a special code. So you will be able to go online and say, I would like to share my details regarding employment with this person. They will be generating a code, and you pass a code to this, for example, your employer. They will go on the website. All the information they will be able to see is the information associated with your employment rights, not all the details about you that is held. To access this this data, you will need your passport number and an email address, and then you will be able to update your details online. So if your details change, if you get a new passport, if you change your address in the UK, if your email changes, you are the one who can always keep this data up to date. In terms of what you will so in a way, that is a really nice secure digital status to have, because you will never be in a position where you can actually lose your visa. Losing a visa is an expensive business and is quite stressful, but also you need to be in a mindset that you're not going to have a physical documents. You will have an email showing you that confirming your visa, but your visa will be held online. Hopefully I made it quite clear. Tom, could I have another slide? So let's look at the fees associated with the visa application. So there is one-off fee if you apply from outside of the UK. I must say that the visa application fees vary between application inside the UK and outside of the UK. So as we made the assumption that most of you are outside of the UK, within the fees, I will talk only about the fees for application outside of the UK. So if you're applying for the student route, so a course longer than 6 months, the visa application fee from outside of the UK at the moment is held at £348. I must stress that the visa application fees goes usually up a little bit every year, and that happens in April. So by the time you apply for your visa, this fee may be a little bit more expensive. This fee is for a visa application. So it is set. The fee that isn't set is the immigration healthcare surcharge fee. The immigration healthcare surcharge is you paying a fee to be able to access the National Health Service here in the UK on the same level and the same rights as any British citizen. It's a must within the visa application. So even if you have a private health insurance, you have to make this payment. The payment is quite significant because it's £470 per year of your visa. So depending whether you're coming here for a year of study, for a 1-year course, or whether you're coming here for a 3-year course, this fee will vary. Also, the visa is granted for if you study on a course that is longer than 12 months, which vast majority of you will get an extra 1 month before the course start date, an extra 4 months after the course end date to remain in the UK and settle into your study or have extra opportunities after your course expires. The immigration healthcare surcharge is calculated based on the parameters that you come here for the full duration of your visa, meaning with the extra 4 months at the end of the visa as well. So that's something for you to budget for. In terms of traveling to the UK, the time that is given for you to come to the UK depends on the length of your course. If you study on a course, if you are studying on a course that is longer than 6 months, you will have a 1 month before your actual course starts to come to the UK to settle in and prepare for your study. If you are on a short course, so like a vocational course, a course that is 6 months or less, you will only be given a 1 week before your course start date to come to the UK, because obviously your settling in period is much less. So just to recap, you can submit your visa application to come and study in the UK up to 6 months before your course actually starts. But the travel window will be only 1 month before your course starts.
Loading up the next slide.
The one thing to also be mindful of in terms of your visa validity, your visa, so the student visa, is valid as long as you study with us. It's and all associated privileges that with this visa will also last as long as you study with us. I will now hand over to Andy, who will talk to you about the visa conditions.
Yeah, hello again, everybody. This will be a very quick slide because obviously it won't be applicable until you actually arrive in the UK. But just to make you aware that there are some conditions attached to your student visa. And probably the most applicable one to you that you'll need to be aware about is working conditions. Now, I should highlight before we start that I talked about 2 different types of visas early on in this presentation. So if your course is under 6 months and you were coming on a visit visa, that visit visa does not permit you to work at all in the UK. However, most of you will probably be coming on the longer student visa route, and that does permit you to work, but there are some restrictions to that work that you're allowed to do. So if you're studying a degree level course or above, so a course that is going to result you in achieving a qualification at an undergraduate level, master's or PhD, you can study you can work 20 hours per week during term time. And if you're studying a below degree level course, so a foundation course or a HNC or HND, you're only permitted to work 10 hours per week during term time. There are times, however, that you can work full time. These are in all vacation periods. So the university has a few week vacation period at Christmas, in the Easter, and usually for a few months in the summer as well. And during that time, you are allowed to work full time and there's no restrictions on the amount of hours you can work. If you're doing a work placement, which is part of your course, you're also allowed to work full-time hours on that work placement as well. And after your course has ended, you will receive what's known as a wrap-up period on your visa, which is usually between 2 and 4 months, depending on the duration of your course. And during that period, after your course is finished, you're also allowed to work full-time as well. So the restrictions on work hours only relate to the term dates of the university. There are also some restrictions on the type of work you can do. And again, not going to go into too much detail on this, but the main types of work you're not allowed to do are you're not allowed to be self-employed, and you're not allowed to set up your own business in the UK. And you're also not allowed to be employed, so paid to play professional sports. And in some circumstances, be a professional sports coach as well. That's if you're coaching for a professional sports team. One last condition, which I think Monica kind of alluded to earlier in the presentation as well, is that your visa would be valid for you to come and study in the UK. So you're allowed to work as well, but should you ever stop studying on your course, so you withdraw, or you decide to take a period out of your study, then we would need to report that to the Home Office, and then your visa would no longer be valid and you'd need to leave the UK. So just to be aware of that as well. And then the last slide before we kind of go on to any questions that you've got is just where you can get further information from. So I said earlier on in the presentation, please don't worry if you don't remember everything. Our admissions team will send you everything you need, tell you what you need to provide and how you apply for your visa. So as long as you take away kind of from this just the overview that, yes, I'm probably going to need a visa, which means I'm going to need to be aware of certain documents to provide to the university, and I'll need to submit a visa application. That is kind of enough at this stage. But if you do need to know more information, we've got a dedicated page on our website for visas and immigration, and that will explain the whole student route. If you did arrive in the UK prior to the 31st of December 2020, obviously you may need some guidance on the EU settlement scheme, and we've got a link to our page on that, which involves a presentation that myself and Monica also did on that subject. And then there's the UKISA website, and now UKISA are the UK Council for International Student Affairs in the UK, an organisation that represents international students, so including EU nationals. And on their website, they've got lots of information about up-to-date news articles and also the visa application process as well. And then obviously, if you've got any questions kind of after this presentation is finished, whether that's to do with the application process to the university, visas and immigration, or anything like that, you can of course contact Tom, and his email address is there as well. If he can't directly help you with the query, he will obviously be able to forward that on to myself or Monica or the admissions team, whoever is applicable to answer that, and he'll find that out for you. So that's the end of the presentation today. If anyone's got any questions, then feel free to ask them now. What I'd probably suggest, Tom, is if people put the questions in the chat and you filter them out to the appropriate individual.
Yeah, sounds good to me, Andy. Thank you for that. We already do have one from Alexia, so I'll just answer her question. She says, hi, wishes for the Happy New Year. Thank you, you too. It's not quite clear how the health surcharge fee is calculated. We mentioned £470 per year of study. She's referencing an immigration health surcharge calculator that gives a different total. So how is the fee calculated?
I'll let Monica take that one.
Okay, well, I'm just looking at the calculator. In the calculator, there is the question, one of the criteria you need to select is what is your visa route? Okay, and the fee, indeed, you're absolutely right, the fee does vary. And for the student visa route, or if you like tier 4 route, the fee is discounted to £470. The other nationals do different, depending on what business they're doing. So for example, a working people, they need to pay much more. They'll need to be paying 600 or 620 per year. So if you pick the correct criteria under your visa route, and then your nationality, and also you've then later on select the visa date. So it will be the course start date and the course end date. If you put the dates based on the courses, it should calculate correctly for the entire duration.
Just a quick point to add on that, because I think maybe where the confusion is coming in for this student, and I could be wrong, is the immigration health surcharge is based on the length of the visa that will be issued and not the actual length of the course. For example, if you do a 3-year course, you get a month leave at the start of before your course starts, and then 4 months leave afterwards, and that might be taking them over 3 years, which would mean they'd have to pay 3 years and 6 months immigration health surcharge. So if you're paying sort of an extra 2 or 350 or 275 on what you think you're paying, that is probably the reason why.
Brilliant, thank you. Alexia, I'll come to your second question. I'm just going to answer Abitha's question for, hopefully I said that right. Is it possible to come with a spouse and a child under the student visa and finance required?
So yes, dependents are possible, but there are criteria. So you can only bring a dependent in the UK if you are on a postgraduate course, so master level or above, and the course itself is longer than 9 months, unless you are sponsored by a government or international organization. So for vast majority of you, a typical master course that is 12 months long in Solent would give you the option of bringing your dependents with you. If you are looking at studying at undergraduate level with you, then the only way to bring dependents would be to bring them as a visitor. Under a visitor visa, so they would be able to stay with you up to 6 months, unless they apply for a long-term visitor visa, which is also an option. They can apply for long-term visitor visa for like 2 years, for example, but restrictions apply under the visitor visa category as to what they can and can't do here in the UK. And same, there are different restrictions of what dependents can and can't do in the UK. So for example, a child, to be able to attend the local schools, the child would need to be on a student dependent visa, or a worker dependent visa, cannot be here on a visitor visa.
Brilliant, thanks, Mon. Alexia, your second question. So I think this is just to get clarification. Back to the visa fee there. Applicants coming to the UK for an undergraduate course need to pay the visa fee, £348 for the visa fee every year, or just once?
Just once. Yeah. So you apply for a visa at the beginning with the CAS document, and the CAS document shows how long is your actual course. And that's how the Home Office knows how long to give you the visa for. And therefore, there is one visa application fee and the variant and one immigration healthcare surcharge fee, but that depends, the length of the amount depends on the length of your visa.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you. Abby, regards to the link to the PhD program, specific programs and information for those programs can be found on our website. So I'm not just going to share, we'll try to keep it as general as possible. But if you do have any questions, please send me an email with regards to what specific program you're after. Joy, based on the information here, you mentioned that students can apply for a visa within 6 months before the start date. Joy received an email in December from International Admissions for January resumption that the CAS won't be issued until June. That is after the course start date. So this is regards, Joy, I believe, is joining us in January of this month, received an email last month saying that we won't be issuing her CAS until June. So just some clarity on that. I'm guessing that's to do with the current situation.
Yeah, that would probably be a question for me. That's a decision that the university made for certain courses, so I'm guessing it's probably an MBA, global MBA or MSc in computer engineering or something along those lines. Because those courses are starting remotely online, that's the reason that we're not issuing the CASs until the summer. So for a standard course that's starting in September, the likelihood is those CASs will be issued up to 6 months in advance. but it will obviously be dependent on you meeting all the requirements. And usually most students don't actually meet all the requirements for an unconditional offer until kind of 2-3 months before the course start date.
Brilliant. Thanks, Andy. Hopefully I said this name right, Vasilios. Happy New Year to you too. If a student after his master's study finds a full-time job, can they stay longer in the UK? What happens to their visa?
There is a fantastic opportunity that comes in the summer 2021 for all visa nationals. And what it means in a shape of a 2-year graduate visa. So all students who successfully complete the study on a graduate level, so undergraduate or a master course students, will be having an opportunity to apply for an extra 2-year visa. And on this 2 years, the students will be able to study or work in the UK and remain here for a further 2 years. So if you think about this, that would give you a total of 5 years of study in the UK if you come on an undergraduate course, and possibly an opportunity to then settle in and move into a career route and a visa route for a working visa route pretty much after that.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mon. Abby, just to back to your question about PhD courses, John has kindly put some the research degrees program in the chat. So thanks, John, for that. Again, Apostolos, I think. Sorry again if that's wrong. From Greece, our fees for master's program, same as EU international students, same as EU for this year for all Greek students if you hold a European Union passport. So if you've been living in the European Union for within 3 years and you're resident of the European Union, you are Greek. For this year, you will pay EU fees, which are the same as home fees. Next year, we haven't got confirmation on that, so it could be in line with overseas fees. But regardless of students, if they're living in the UK or living in Europe, EU, you will pay home fee status, so the same cost that you're used to paying for this next year. And that is a bit of a Solent exclusive, or we're one of the very few universities to offer that. So very happy to be able to offer that. That is just for this year. So just getting through, we've got quite a few more questions, guys. So thanks for coming, keeping these coming. Jamil asks, very similar question, Mon, here. Am I allowed to work after the last 4 months and find a job during that period? I think that's the last 4 months of the visa. Yes. Am I allowed to work in it?
Absolutely. A very good question. Very good question. So the reason why the UK government gives you the extra 4 months after the course end date is for you to search for opportunities. Absolutely. It's to work, to look for work, to be in a paid or unpaid employment, to be having internships if you find them as well. So the time when you can work full time in the UK, like Andy mentioned, it's during a holiday period, and that holiday period varies depending on the level of a course. But for everybody, that the 4 months after the course end date, if you successfully completed your study. If you need to have an extra time to complete studies, if you have, I don't know, repeats, then obviously you continue being seen as in-term time as long as you're submitting your work and you shorten yourself the 4 months. But the idea is you've got the 4 months to then jump onto a working visa. But for you guys, you're going to have an extra 2 years of the graduate visa available.
Sorry, I was on mute, always one. Thank you. That really helpful information, that Mon, and hopefully that's answered your question, Jamil. Just going through some more then, going to go to Abitha again. Are there any health surcharges on spouses or children coming with a student? How much would that be for a student studying a master's?
Absolutely, Abby, very good question. Each dependent needs to submit a visa application and pay the fee at the same level as a student. So all of your spouse and your children will also need to pay visa submission fees and immigration healthcare at the same level. You will also need to show the maintenance, so the money for living for your dependents, but that's slightly less than what you need for a student. So the biggest amount of money is really for the students at over £1,000 per calendar month. For dependents, it's under £700 per calendar month. Also, as I mentioned before, if the differentiation agreement is signed between the countries, you don't actually need to show the documents with your visa application to show that you've got the maintenance in place. We're talking about then a huge amount of money for the family members to come, but you do need to have access to this money. The good news about dependents is that if you have a spouse on a dependent visa, that spouse have no limitation to working hours in the UK, which means they can, and also the type of employment they can engage in. So your spouse, your husband coming with you here to study can engage in a full-time employment from day one.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I've got a quick question here that is regarding, I think I can take this one from Amelie. Hello, is the 2021 year, will courses be online due to the COVID pandemic? This is something that we and all universities are monitoring as it happens. The original plan was to get semester 2, which starts in a few weeks, up and running on campus. Obviously, with the second wave, that has not been made possible, and due to the recent current travel restrictions imposed on international students, it's made it increasingly difficult. As it stands for September 2021, we are continuing that we're going to be back to some sort of normality with students on campus studying as we all remember it and miss it. So hopefully not. Hopefully students joining in September 2021 will be resuming their study in a bit more familiarity. What I can add is that since April or since March last year, our academic team have gone above and beyond to ensure that their courses can be delivered effectively and properly online. So if the worst comes to the worst and we are still delivering it online, rest assured that it's tried and tested now, and we're all very used to it. But as it stands, September 2021 start will be on campus. So prepare for the complete experience. But obviously things change all the time with this pandemic. It's a global issue, and we'll keep you informed. It's important to stay in touch with us as much as possible over the next few months to just see how it's progressing in the UK and beyond. So sorry, I can't have a bit more clarity on that. I'd love to, believe me. Alexia, one final question. Thank you. Are other online English, one for you, Andy, other online English tests such as IELTS indicators accepted for visa purposes for degrees? I guess I'm just reading through trying to make sense. Can we accept the IELTS indicator for visa purposes? And what can an applicant do if IELTS exams are shut due to local lockdowns?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we took the decision last year to accept online tests such as IELTS indicator, and there was a TOEFL test as well. Currently, it was decided that that would only be for the current academic year, but obviously we'll have to see what happens with the pandemic over the course of kind of the next 2-3 months. And then we'll make a decision about whether we will accept online tests again for September 2021. So currently the answer is no, but obviously it's under review. And if test centres remain closed, then it's probably quite likely that we would start to accept those tests again. The good thing about tests like the IELTS indicator is they are quite quick to book a test and do them. Whereas sometimes when you have to visit an IELTS test centre, the booking time can be a lot longer. So yeah, I think the answer there is we'll probably have to kind of wait and see where we are at kind of Easter time, and what the test availability is around Europe and certain parts of the world. And it could be that we accept them from certain regions and not others, but that's kind of under review.
Thanks, guys. I will ask, if you do have a question, please could you ask it now, because I'm aware that we're going a little bit over the 11 o'clock time slot. There's also an opportunity to ask questions by emailing me. So if it does one does come up, please email me. But aware that people, we are going over the 11 o'clock time slot. Taru, I'm currently in the UK on a Tier 4 visa and have applied for a master's programme starting in Jan. Monica, is there any chance a CAS can be issued now?
I think that's probably more of a question for myself and for the admissions team, actually. I think if you could email me after this session directly, that would be great, and we'll have a look at your personal circumstances and what we can do. Either email Tom and he can forward it on, or you can email it to pbi@solent.ac.uk, and I'll pick that up and look at your individual circumstance on that.
Thanks, Andy. Sorry for that. I just popped the PBI email address in the chat if you do want to email Andy directly. Sabrina, if I live in Spain but come from a different country, must I apply for my visa from the country I'm living in, or can she do it in Spain?
You can do both. So you can apply from a country of your residency. So currently Spain. If you're resident in Spain, you can apply from Spain. Or if you're going to be leaving Spain, going back into your home country, you can apply from a home country.
Brilliant. Yeah, so you've got some choice there. Tom Lang, due to coronavirus, we don't know if the course will start online. What should we do with that situation for a visa, as well as a place to live in the UK? Basically, I guess we're not sure if the course is going to begin online. Can we apply for the visa? What do we do with this uncertainty? Obviously, it's brand new, but what would we advise students if they're not sure if their course is beginning online or not, in terms of preparing to come over to the UK and study?
I mean, I think, sorry.
Go on, Andy.
I was going to say, I think the advice would be plan as if you were coming to the UK for September, and have all the documentation and everything ready to apply for your visa. Even if for some reason the course does start online in September, it might be that you can still apply for your visa, hold a valid visa, and then travel once the course program is going to be delivered kind of in person on campus. That's what happened this year with a lot of students. So yeah, plan is if you're coming for September, and then it leaves all options open for you closer to the time, I would say.
The one thing we didn't actually cover in a presentation, which is a very valid question, is like, when do I have to apply for a visa? How long does the process take? And that's really relates to the question you've asked as to how long can you wait until you make your decision with the visa application. And the visa application process, depending on, I should really say now, depending on the state of the pandemic, but typically it takes 3 weeks. And for September this year, the Home Office was really working really hard and make the visa turnaround of the visa applications within the 3 weeks window.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Just to reiterate, thank you, Mon. Just to reiterate what Andy said, prepare for life as normal. I'm touching some wood here. Prepare for life as normal from September and get everything ready as you would normally is our advice. That's what we're hoping for, and it's better. Although not ideal, but better to have it all ready to resume normal rather than not do it and to be rushing to a last minute. These things are a process, and it's good to get ahead of the game and make sure you've got everything in place. It's not ideal, and it's a complete situation that's affecting the world and way beyond our control. But all we can do to lessen the effects of that is when you do hopefully join in September normally, and we're moving on through the pandemic, then we have everything in place to be able to start your studies and living in the UK so that you're well best prepared for that. I should also add that throughout the summer and the coming months, as the situation develops, we'll continue with webinars on different themes. I will be running one on accommodation and preparing to move to the UK, so do keep an eye out for that. This will be a recurring theme, these webinars, whilst be it not on visa focus but also on getting ready for the UK, and I will have sort of updates on the situation with the pandemic, so you will get drip fed information throughout the year, keeping you up to date. So this isn't just a one-off. So Julia, I think is the last question here, and again she does apologize if it's being asked. Julia's from Germany, and asks if students can use an alternative proof of English, such as the German Abitur or the DAAD, instead of an IELTS or TOEFL. I think this, Andy, I know this one's for you, but I think it being from Germany, it does come down to which country you're asking this question from, doesn't it?
Yeah, the answer is we can use alternative qualifications. Unfortunately, because I'm not used to working with EU nationals, or haven't been in the past, I don't kind of know the qualifications from country to country that we do accept. But there are a number of kind of high school certificates that we would accept as evidence of English language, providing you achieved a certain grade in the English study that you took in that. Like I say, I don't know them all off the top of my head. They are listed on our website in our course entry requirements statement. What I'll do is, while the presentation is kind of, the questions are continuing on, I'll see if I can find that link and pop it in the chat so everyone can see their own nationality and which tests that we would accept as English language in there.
Brilliant. Thank you. Hopefully that helped. So just coming through the last ones then, Julia, your other question, you have German students and non-EU applicants. That's completely fine. I guess this gets more specific with what are the non-EU applicants, where are they studying, where are they from, all these kind of questions. So email me directly with queries on that, and maybe you and I can talk about students from IEC and how to best facilitate their needs, because it could get quite complicated. But please do email me about that. Alejandro, I received and accepted my unconditional offer from Solent over a month or almost a month ago, but I've not received any more information, and there is no other information given on UCAS. I'm happy to take this one. Alejandro, at the moment, due to the Christmas break, there has been some delay in getting offers out and getting offers responded to. I was speaking to my colleagues in admissions literally this morning about we're aware of 38 EU students that still haven't had an offer after submitting their application prior to Christmas. Maybe you're one of those, in which case you will hear by the end of this week, because we're going through the offers today. So you will be made an offer this week. If you haven't been made an offer by Monday, drop me an email and I will chase directly for you. And that is true to all students, really, EU specifically here. If you have made an offer before Christmas, please be aware that the university is shut over the Christmas period. So we're just starting to get back on it. You will be made an offer probably by early next week. If you haven't, send me your email address and application number details, and I will chase it for you. But it is coming. And we will be with you. It just takes a little bit of time to get back through those applicants. So please just hold tight on that one. Monica, thanks for putting the surcharge information there. Sorry, Julia, last question. Julia she's going to send me an email. Thank you. Her question was geared towards the visa. I think she's asking for English requirements for the visa, not so much the application. So that is with regards to the German qualifications, as Andy's alluded to, allowing German students to get a visa to studying in the UK. Does that change anything, Andy?
I can probably come back to this. I'm just looking at our entry requirements for German qualifications, and looks like we accept level 10 in the Abitur in English for degree level study or above. Just going back to that question more in general, and what I'll do is I'll pop in the chat the course entry requirement statement that's on our website. It is currently for 2020, and I know the 2021 one is currently just under review because I've got a meeting about it next week. But it's probably unlikely to change too much. It's important to recognise for your visa application what level of study you are studying at. So as I alluded to before, if you're studying below degree level, so you're coming on a foundation year, it doesn't matter what other qualifications you have, you must hold a secure English language test. And the most common one is the IELTS test. For your visa application, if you're studying at degree level or above, the university can decide how we assess your English language level. Obviously, we have to be able to evidence that to the Home Office, so we can't just accept anything. But the course entry requirement statement, which I'm just about to post in the chat, lists the qualifications that we would accept from each country as evidence of English language. And for Germany, the Abitur is in there. So I'll pop that in the chat there as well. And actually, for degree level study or above, you wouldn't need to evidence that qualification to the Home Office. We would just list that on the CAS, confirming we've assessed your English language.
Brilliant. Thanks, Andy. I should add one for Julia there, that although we're not used to, and nobody is used to, visa guidance for EU students because it's brand new, we have been around Europe for a very long time recruiting students. So we're very familiar with the English I am very familiar with English qualifications for each European country. So again, as Andy's alluded to, we can make a judgment at institution level, and we do have to evidence that to the Home Office, but it is our decision. So it will likely stay as sort of as what we already accept for German students as proof of English. But again, Julia, do email me and we can have a chat about it. Last question then. Thanks everybody for joining us, and I hope this session's made. It's all very complicated. There's lots of information to get around, but we're on call to be able to make sure that we can give you that as advice as objectively and helpfully as possible. And if you do have a question, Teams me or email me. Last question from Ruby. Ruby, if you could email me directly, and this regards to your direct offer to study your master's qualification. It states the tuition fees are in the region of 4,000 for 2020, 2021. You've accepted this, and the fees increased. I'm guessing you're starting in January, which is still considered part of the 2020-2021 recruitment cycle. And the fees, I believe, will start from September 2021, which are the fees we've now published on our website. I could be wrong, but please email me directly your offer letter and when you're starting, and I'll figure that out for you. I'd imagine that your fees will stay the same as they are on your offer letter. That's what has been agreed. Okay, brilliant. I just want to pass my thanks on to Andy and Monica. Thanks ever so much for your time yet again and for helping. Thanks to everybody who spent the morning with us and has asked questions or listened in. As I said, I have recorded this conversation, so we will be able to access it hopefully in the chat. I'm just stopping the recording now. So thanks for joining us if you're listening on a recording.